Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to another Snapshot video. This is Snapshot 23w51b, the last snapshot that we are going to get in 2023, and this one has introduced the Armadillo and Wolf armor to survival Minecraft. We're going to be going into a fresh survival world in single player, just in normal difficulty settings, no cheats or anything. We're just going to name this 23w51b Snapshot, and we're going to go looking for the Armadillo in a fresh survival world, which the game is going to make difficult for me because we're starting in a desert, although it looks like there's a savanna really close by, so we could be finding the Armadillo pretty quickly here. The Armadillo has been in the game for a little under a week at this point. It arrived in a Bedrock Edition beta first, but I preferred to check this out in Java because setting up the Bedrock betas is sometimes kind of a pain, and Java is more of my jam. But once we've made it over to the Savanna biome, that should be where we can now find the Armadillo. And you'll notice we didn't enable any experiments in this version. We didn't do the usual thing of going and enabling 1.21 experimental features because apparently the Armadillo should be exempt from that. It should be appearing outside of the experimental features toggle, which is an interesting thing because this is also a snapshot for Minecraft 1.20.5. And so while I've been thinking of the Armadillo as a feature that arrives in 1.21, it's entirely possible that it could be arriving sooner than that. It is unusual for fully fledged new features to arrive in these minor updates that we get to updates like 1.20, but you never know, right? Either way, we're going to do our usual survival thing here. I'm just going to make myself some wooden tools. We'll be able to get some stone and some coal from this cliffside here, and then we'll go onto the land and see if we end up with any armadillos spawning in this immediate area. Because along with the armadillos comes the prospect of wolf armor, and that's another thing I would really like to test out in this video. Once we get to know an armadillo, we should be able to harvest some armadillo scutes. We might be able to make some wolf armor with those, and then we get to test whether or not wolf armor really feels viable in survival gameplay. Because I know a lot of people have had concerns about the strength of wolf armor, whether or not it's enough to protect your pups as you venture throughout the world, and I expect a few people will be testing these in very clinical conditions. You know, if I drop a creeper next to a wolf wearing armor and just blow it up using flint and steel, is the wolf going to die? The answer is probably yes, because creeper damage gets more intense the closer to the center of the explosion you are, and also depends on difficulty. Speaking of difficulty, this game was really trying hard not to give me a viable savanna for armadillo spawning, although maybe there's some on the top of this cliff. Maybe we have Armadillo Peak up here. Let's take a look. At the very least, I should be able to get some iron from up here, because I've spotted a deposit of that in the cliffside. And I've already grabbed a bit of copper in the hope that we can turn that copper into a brush later, because that has some interaction with the armadillo, believe it or not. Although at this point, I'm more interested in having a sheep up here because I should be able to get some shears with some of this iron and get enough wool for a bed. Oh, we got 3 from our first sheep. Fantastic. So at least we can skip the night if we need to now. Let's get a little bit more iron from up here and see if there are any armadillos before we move on. Well, I was hoping for armadillos. It turns out there aren't armadillos. It's a terrible joke. Cut it from the video. I think I definitely need to find a larger savanna though. So, hup. Yeah, it's not a great idea looking for mobs in tall terrain like that. The terrain conditions are just a little bit awkward for mobs to spawn naturally. Fortunately, though, we got a warm biome spawn, so we should be able to find another savanna nearby. They're pretty abundant in terrain generation after 1.18, and there's even a village where hopefully I can get some food. With a brief diversion to this nether portal, oh, we got some gold armor. Alright, I'll take it. Curse of binding, though. Hope the armadillo enjoys my gold chest plate because I'm now never taking this off. Morning, sir. How are you? And thankfully this village has hay bales, so I can just make a ton of bread out of these. This has turned into one of the biggest Badlands biomes I think I've seen in the game for a while. Seriously, look at this. It keeps going up. Let's put the seed on screen so you folks can at least see what the seed is for this world. I'll leave that in the description as well. Although if you're just here to look for armadillos, I might have a hard time recommending this. Oh, there we go. We have a little savanna over there in the distance. It looks like the Badlands terrain gives over to a savanna plateau, and hopefully there'll be a savanna valley where we can find some armadillos. And I think I just spotted my first one over here on this hillside. It looks like a little pink-purple shape is climbing around up here, and this confirms that you don't have to have the experiments toggle enabled in order to get armadillos to pop up in one of these snapshot worlds. They are just here. And there they are. Hello, you. Oh, there's another one down there as well. Look at this adorable critter. So in the last few days, a lot has been made over whether or not the armadillo should have the eyes on the sides or the front of their face, because they've only got a little head peeking out the front of this giant shell. And I believe that the art team has said that the eyes being on the front makes sense for the animal because it's going to be one that you interact with quite frequently, and so having it look at you like that makes sense. But Yeah, I don't know. I could go either way on it. I don't really have much of an opinion there. Big question is, will it fit in a boat? Yep, it sure does. All right, we can row this one down the mountain and away from this dripstone cave. And so far, it seems like they make these kind of like tiny grunting, sniffing noises, which are honestly pretty cool. And I wonder if they got those from real-life armadillos, like they did with the sounds for the pandas and a few other mobs. This one seems very keen on going back towards that dripstone cave, though, and they do look kind of like dripstone. They've got a similar purpley color, so I think the Savanna is a really good place for them. I think that it really fits this environment color-wise. Now, the reason I brought the feathers for the brush is that you can actually brush these guys to get the armadillo scutes off of them. So, whoa, okay, that broke the brush basically instantly. Fortunately, I had another copper ingot. Let's see how much durability that takes. Wow. So that takes a quarter of the brush's durability each time. I mean, we saw just then that it broke in basically 4 swipes. And then we get an armadillo scute there. Very different from a turtle scute. But man, those things go through brushes quickly. Like, even with unbreaking, you're probably only going to get 5 or 6 of these things before your brush is absolutely toast. And there it is, the wolf armor, for which you need 6 armadillo scutes. You kind of make I guess a chair shape, and the sprite for it looks kind of nondescript, to be honest. It looks a little bit like horse armor, so I guess it's got that going for it. Where have you gone, armadillo friend? Has it actually gone back into this dripstone cave? Oh, and it's curled up into a ball because I sprinted nearby. That's honestly really cute, and the fact that they do this little squeak of surprise when you sprint near them, that's honestly really, really cool. And I do like the fact that their heads stick out. I know people were saying that, yeah, the fact that their heads stick out isn't exactly realistic. They normally curl into a ball to defend themselves. But yeah, honestly, I think the fact that you can still see this as an armadillo, pretty adorable, to be honest. Now, we have a couple of them around, so we could breed them. There's another one over there as well. But we will need some spider eyes to do that, because armadillos eat insects in the real world, and people were speculating about whether or not that would mean introducing termites to the savanna biome. That could still happen in future. It's not unprecedented that a mob's food and some of its behaviors change a little bit later when something comes along that pairs well with it, but in the meantime, of course, spiders are the insects that we have in the game that actually have any significant drops, and the spider eyes are apparently the preferred food of the armadillo. So I can either wait for the sun to dip down and try and kill a couple of spiders here on the plains of this savanna biome, or I could venture into the dripstone cave and see if there are any spiders around here. But there's likely to be more mobs than I can really handle at this stage with very limited access to iron, so I think maybe I'll hunt for some spiders on the savanna flatlands for a minute, and then bring the spider eyes back to these armadillos once we have them. Of course, it would be great to be hunting spiders at night with a brand new armored wolf by my side, but of course I'll need bones for that, and we're not really near anywhere that spawns wolves naturally, so I'll need to go out hunting for one of those and try and take on a few mobs once we have tamed a wolf of our own. Now, night has fallen, so let's see if any arachnids pop out of the woodwork and are interested in giving me their eyes. I'm also forgetting my survival Minecraft strats. I should probably make myself a shield. There we go. Well, we have a couple of skeletons at least, and the armadillo nearby has actually curled into a ball, because armadillos are afraid of undead mobs, which for once includes skeletons. Other mobs like villagers, which are afraid of zombies, are only afraid of zombies because zombies will actually attack them, but the armadillo seems to be afraid of all undead mobs. That's zombies, skeletons, even mobs like the Wither. And once we kill this zombie, the armadillo should uncoil because it feels a little bit safer again, which is kind of cute. You can see that that one over there is curled up as well because this zombie came from its vicinity. So that could potentially have some use as a hostile mob detector, although it's also a player sprint detector. But you'll notice that the hostile mobs in question aren't actually attacking the armadillo. So it's not like turtle eggs where zombies will go and stomp on them. They're happy enough to leave the armadillo alone. The armadillo just gets a little freaked out. Cruel though this experiment is, I am kind of curious about whether or not the skeleton's arrows will harm the armadillo while it's in this balled up state. Yep, no, it does. Okay, and the armadillo decides to flee. It's decided that curling up in a ball was not the best solution after all, and it just decides to run away, which is entirely fair. I'm just going to gather enough bones that I can hopefully tame a wolf next time we see one, and so far I haven't really run into any spiders. Oh no, here's one. Let's see if this one drops a spider eye for us. We will need 2 to breed the armadillos, and that one didn't even drop anything. If only I had the patience to grind for a looting sword before I got to this spider killing portion of the video, but there we go. We got our first spider eye there, and there's spider eye number 2. Perfect. So now we can at least demonstrate breeding armadillos. And I think for the moment I'm going to try and get some rest so that we don't have to deal with too many of these mobs. I do think one thing the Minecraft art and animation teams have been nailing recently is the way creatures walk. Like, look at the little legs go on this guy. It's really adorable. In terms of big boxy mobs, we have the sniffer now, of course, and the sniffer having 6 legs means its walk cycle looks really cool. And I think the armadillo is honestly a pretty cute walker itself. Just like the little legs going underneath there. Now let's hold a spider eye in my hand, and as you can see, armadillos are tempted by the spider eye, although that one seems to have lost track of me behind a block. Now, judging by the size, this is an adult armadillo. I don't think we've seen a baby armadillo, although baby mobs should spawn naturally in the wild now. I am very curious to see how tiny and cute the baby armadillos are. And they move about as fast as a player sneaking backwards, so you can at least get it to follow you at a normal speed this way. Here you go, little bud. Got a friend to introduce you to over here, and of course there's two of them over here, so I needn't bother dragging this guy all the way, but he deserves it, I think, at this point. These two are now going to breed, and there we go. We should have a baby armadillo. Oh, tiny. Just basically a scaled-down version of the other ones. Although, is the head the same size? I think the head might be the same size. Just look at the little legs go, though. Look at the little legs run. Oh, that's so adorable. And they should have the same behavior. Yeah, they curl up into a tiny little ball. Oh, that's sweet. Given that they are basically a cube, when they curl up like that, they're basically like a smaller version of a block. I do like the armadillo a lot. I think they've got some character. They got some style. They got the wolf armor thing going for them, and armadillo scutes don't seem like they have any other purposes yet, but they might have in future. As a little bit of ambient detail for savannas, they're nice. They don't exactly stand out too much. They're relatively small. I think I expected them to maybe be a little bit bigger. They're less than the size of a block in their current incarnation, but I suppose that feels realistic based on, like, player scale. Like, armadillos in the real world don't get that big. But this is also Minecraft, where spiders are 2 meters wide, so anything goes, I think, at this point. And I think if they wanted to have armadillos scare spiders, that wouldn't be a bad move, because then we'd have a few more versatile mechanics for the armadillo, and it could be used in different ways. For the same reason that wolves scaring skeletons and piglins running away from zombie piglins are useful mechanics to the player. For mob sorting and stuff like that, it might be useful, although there are other ways that you can sort spiders, I suppose. Now let's take a look through these forest biomes. This might be a landscape in which we would find some wolves we could tame, and if not, we can keep looking. I think I often find wolves around, like, taiga biomes, although that may just be like a confirmation bias thing. I just spotted some red terracotta from over here, and it looks like I've actually found a jungle trail ruins. There's a trail ruins marker right there, which means if we dug down, we'd be able to dig out a bunch more loot and whatnot. Although, I would be able to do that if I had any brushes left, but the armadillos broke both of mine. Seriously, was not expecting an armadillo scute to cost you 16 durability on a brush. I feel like that's maybe a little bit steep. Like, I understand you don't want them to be too easy to get, right? You don't want to just brush a single armadillo and have more armadillo scutes than you will ever need, but I do think it feels kind of strange when it's basically 4 scutes and then the thing breaks. Like, one other aspect of this, which I probably won't take the time to demonstrate in this video, is that you can automate the scute farm using dispensers, because dispensers will be able to use brushes on armadillos, but then your dispenser is going to go through 9 brushes in about 2 seconds, and so it kind of feels redundant to have the dispenser functionality in there at all. Brushes are pretty cheap, though. It's just a copper ingot, a stick, and a feather, so I guess you could load up a double chest of brushes just so that you could get more scutes out of them that way, but you'd only need 1 armadillo to do it. It doesn't seem necessary to automate, really. I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it at this point, but the main reason I'm overthinking it is because I haven't found a wolf yet. Oh, and this birch forest is going on forever. It's like Season 2 of Survival Guide. Oh, what do I see in the distance there? That's a pillager outpost on, you've guessed it, another savanna. Yeah, maybe I overdid it with my wishes for savannas at the beginning of this. Looks like it's actually in a plains biome, but there is a savanna just beyond there. Let's rescue the allays and give them some armadillo scutes. That'll keep them busy. And we haven't seen too many pillager spawns yet, so I'm going to raid the tower and see if we can get a goat horn from this. Oh, no goat horn, unfortunately. A little bit of wheat, though. And now these pillagers are going to be following me for the remainder of the game. So I checked it on the Minecraft wiki, and it seems like I was right. You get wolves in forests, tigers, groves, basically anywhere that spruce trees are. And the problem is my entire spawn area and all of the lands around it seem to have been warm biomes. It's all badlands, deserts, jungles, savannas. Great for armadillos, shocking for wolves. So I'm going to get some sleep on this shipwreck, and then we're going to go looking for a taiga biome. Oh, finally, I can see the evidence of wolves because a sheep has been killed nearby. I honestly did not expect it was going to take this long for us to find a wolf to tame, and I have done a cumulative about 10,000 blocks worth of traveling. Like, I've traveled 6,000 blocks on one axis and 4,000 on another, but finally we get to tame a wolf. There we go, best friends forever, and now we get to equip that wolf with armor. I do like the armor on the wolf. I think it looks kind of stylish. I think it fits well with the natural wolf color. I do wish we had style options with the armor, though. Not necessarily the shape, but the color. I would like to be able to customize that a little bit more. And it should be easy enough to customize it, considering that you can use shears on the wolf to get the armor back, and then you could maybe, like, break down some dye. I don't necessarily think white is the best color for it, but you could put that in there with this, and it would maybe give you 16 colors. Maybe not the full leather color palette, but we could at least get 16 colors here on the wolf. Because there's an element of that to wolves already, right? You can already dye the collar different colors, so why not the armor as well? And dyeing it white, honestly, it blends in with the rest of the wolf's texture, so I'm kind of okay with that. But now we have a little group of friends. We have the Allays still following us. They've managed to follow us for a pretty decent distance, actually, and we have this wolf who will teleport to us as long as we don't leave the chunks in which it is loaded. So I guess the next test really is to put this wolf through its paces. Let's see if it will attack mobs for us during the night, and let's see if it survives with its new wolf armor, which, according to the changelogs, should give roughly the same protection that diamond armor gives to a horse. Remember, of course, that you can also feed a wolf meat to have it regain health, and that includes rotten flesh. Oh, and the wolf armor does go a little bit pink if the wolf goes in water like that. If the wolf is damp, it's going to shake itself off and the color returns, but I don't know, I actually kind of like the pink armor. Now, the next question is, can we get the wolf to go in a boat? Yes, we can. Okay, let's row it across the river and let's get to some slightly more open terrain. I think this stony shore biome over here should be enough. There we go. Let's bring everybody on shore. And it's the middle of the day right now, so we're going to camp out here, wait for night to fall, and then we'll see how well this wolf handles being attacked by mobs. Oh my god, I just threw an egg and I got the 4 chickens. I had literally 2 eggs on me. I threw both of them and one of them turned into the 4 chicken egg. That's absolutely wild. That so rarely happens. That honestly felt worth highlighting. I heard multiple chicken noises coming from one spot, and suddenly it split off into 4 of them. That was wild. Like, statistically speaking, I'm sure that happens in a world more frequently than you'd think, but most of the time the chickens are in those kind of chicken dispensers that are just going to cook the chickens when they grow up, so you don't get to see it happen very often like that. And I am going to use the last of the feathers to get a couple more brushes, just in case I need to make any more wolf armor, but I don't think this wolf armor has durability. I don't think horse armor does either. I think it's more the case that it will just drop when the wolf dies instead of ever breaking. So the main reason to get more armadillo scutes at that point would be if you wanted more wolves. Anyway, night is falling, so I'm going to get into the forest here in the hopes that something will spawn out here on the open and we can see this wolf in action. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not normally a wolf person in Minecraft. I don't tend to tame them very often because just having them sitting around as pets isn't my favorite thing, and I don't really feel like taking them anywhere to assist in combat. I'm expecting them to get into too many dangerous situations and just be one other resource that I have to manage, which feels like it could be a little more fragile than I expect. But let's see how this wolf actually handles itself in a combat situation now there's a bit more armor involved. Well, there's a skeleton, a zombie, and a creeper right here, and the skeleton is naturally going to be running away from the wolf, so at least the wolf has the advantage of distracting the skeletons for you in the meantime. The skeleton is not fighting back, so it's very easy for the wolf to take this one down. I might give the wolf a bit of an assist there we go. Now, if I attack this zombie, I believe the wolf should also target the zombie, but the creeper is right there, so I'm a little bit concerned that the creeper is going to explode and take the wolf out. But as I'm kiting the zombie around, the wolf has snuck up behind it, and we get some experience from that as well, remember, because the wolf technically counts as having killed it on behalf of the player. Now let's see how this wolf handles the creeper. It's not going to attack the creeper because mobs are kind of smarter than that, so the only time we would really have to worry about the creeper explosion is if we exploded a creeper nearby to the wolf, which can certainly happen in the heat of battle, but that at least means the wolf isn't going to be a liability to itself. And right now it's actually going after the skeletons here in the water, although the skeletons are giving it the runaround. Oh no, the skeleton is actually fighting back against the wolf. The thing is, the wolf prefers to get to close range, so the skeleton has to get a certain range away before it really starts attacking the wolf here. And the wolf is in hot pursuit, but it's about the same speed as the skeleton, especially on this rocky terrain, and the wolf is having a harder time keeping up. I think, honestly, armor giving a bit more of a speed buff to a wolf might be a good thing, because right now it moves about the same pace as these skeletons do. And the wolf has taken a couple of hits so far, but the skeleton is engaging in combat, and that's a battle it's probably going to lose. Wolf took a little bit of fall damage there, and now it can't get up this hill, but we'll try and give it a bit of an assist, and it looks like the skeleton has come down. There we go, the wolf wins the combat, and having kept the creepers away from it, its tail is down a little bit, which means that potentially it's taken a bit of damage and needs some healing, but we should be able to give it the chickens, and probably this mutton that I have here as well, and then the tail should be back up to a slightly better height. We can also give it the rotten flesh. There we go, tail is looking nice and healthy, which means the wolf's health is closer to full. How about the wolf assisting me with killing this spider so we can get a few more spider eyes for our armadillos? That seems to make a bit of sense. Looks like the wolf is going to deal a couple of points of damage, but spiders are a little bit faster, so the wolf is probably going to have an assist from me luring it in, and there we go, we got the XP, we got some string. Yeah, that's not too bad, that. Now let's see what happens if we intentionally lure the wolf into the blast radius of a creeper. Remember that we are on normal difficulty here, but this is the wolf taking a full blast from a creeper. You'll notice the tail is pretty much all the way down at this point, but the wolf has still survived. I'm not sure if I can feed it bones to get that tail back up. No, unfortunately, it does have to be meat. So that'll have to be another couple of zombies with some rotten flesh, or maybe some pork or something from the pigs around here. So on normal difficulty, at pretty much point-blank range, the wolf survived an attack from the creeper. Obviously, on hard difficulty, you're going to run into more problems because creepers will simply do more damage at that point. Remember that the creeper's damage actually gets less the further away the creeper is from the target. You can have a creeper explode near you and take basically no damage as long as you're a few blocks away. And so our wolf is going to stand a slightly better chance of survival if we don't orchestrate a situation like we just did, where the wolf is basically standing right next to the creeper when it blows up. Naturally, those situations are going to be a little bit harder in the heat of the moment, but as long as you make sure that your wolf is healthy afterwards, as long as you grab some rotten flesh and feed it to the wolf afterwards, we should be able to make sure this wolf is nursed back to full health. And the only real risk at that point is it going after a mob that's going to deal a little too much damage to it. The wolf noises are still so visceral as well when they get mad. Let's see if we can get this zombie conga line to drop us a bit more rotten flesh, and that way the wolf will have something else to eat. There we go, we got 3 rotten flesh from them. Let's feed all of that to the wolf, and there we go. Pretty much back to full health by my estimation. Remember that the wolf is also going to go after any mobs that deal direct damage to their owner. So whether in a PvP situation or here in PvE, this zombie taking a couple of bites out of me means the wolf is going to try and engage. And it is taking a little bit of damage in this wolf versus zombie clash, but it looks like the wolf managed to survive that encounter, taking down the zombie all on its own. It's pretty badly hurt though. And I think this is the main problem with the wolf armor idea, is that it's good in principle, right? Obviously, your little pets having a little bit of extra protection is going to make them last longer in a combat situation, but ultimately we are still looking at the wolf as effectively a disposable companion, which is a difficult psychological hurdle to overcome when people are so attached to dogs. I have the same problem with axolotls when people suggest raiding an ocean monument using them. The problem is all of the mobs in the ocean monument, or all of the mobs out here on the shore, are going to respawn infinitely as long as you stay there, which your wolf is not. And that's the main problem with pets versus hostile mobs in Minecraft, is that your pet doesn't really have a chance to respawn the same way the player does. And treating a mob like a disposable resource, like basically just another unit in this strategy game that you're suddenly now playing with Minecraft, feels like, I don't know, a little bit inhumane to me. Hopefully the folks who advocated for wolf armor being included in the game are at least going to enjoy the fact that their pet has a little bit of extra protection and is slightly harder to kill, but remember that making a wolf invulnerable could be game-breaking in all sorts of different ways, and so ultimately these things are always going to be vulnerable in some form or another. Which is why I think ultimately the best decision for wolf armor is to allow us a bit of customization, because at the end of the day, when players realize they don't want their pets to die when they go out on adventures with them, what's left for players to do with wolf armor other than have some means to dress up their dogs in fancy clothing? Personally, I would also love for there to be an option to use armor trim on wolf armor, simply because after a while in a single player world, you're not going to have any need for armor trim templates since you've got your own armor that's probably already trimmed up in the style that you want it. And aside from making another set of armor as a backup, or maybe, you know, coding your armor with different armor trims so that you know which one is fire resistance versus projectile protection versus just flat protection or frostwalker, you don't really have any uses for armor trims beyond that. And adding some different textures to the wolf armor could be a cool way of dressing up your dog in whatever stylish clothes you decide to give it. See, our wolf is nodding in the back of the boat. He's agreeing with me at this point. And after that long trip, I brought the wolf back here to the savannah so it can hang out with the armadillos that provided its armor, which is honestly creepier than I expected now that I think about it. But that is where we're going to leave things for this snapshot video. Folks, I hope you've enjoyed me giving my opinions on these features and taking a look at them here in survival. Check these out in survival yourself and let me know what you think down there in the comments. Remember, if you're going to be negative, at least be constructive about it. Folks, thank you so much for watching. My name has been Pixlriffs. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.